The aroma of freshly baked bread is universally inviting, but sourdough holds a special place in the hearts and kitchens of many. This ancient bread, leavened naturally with wild yeast and bacteria, has seen a resurgence in recent years. Its tangy flavor, chewy texture, and satisfying crust set it apart from commercially yeasted breads. Beyond its unique taste and texture, sourdough is also known for its digestibility and potential health benefits. Making sourdough is a journey of patience and discovery, rewarding bakers with a deeper connection to the craft and the satisfaction of a truly homemade loaf. Creating sourdough magic requires minimal ingredients, but the right tools make the process smoother. Let's dive into the essentials you'll need to get started on your sourdough journey. For the starter, all you need is flour and water. These two simple ingredients will ferment over time, creating the natural yeast and bacteria that give sourdough its unique flavor and texture. Unbleached all-purpose flour works well, but experimenting with different grains like rye or whole wheat can add complexity to your bread's flavor. Each type of flour brings its own unique characteristics, so don't be afraid to try different combinations to find your perfect blend. When it comes to equipment, a kitchen scale is essential for accuracy. Precise measurements ensure consistency in your dough, which is crucial for achieving the perfect rise and texture in your bread. A large, non-reactive bowl, glass or ceramic is ideal, provides a comfortable home for your starter. The non-reactive material prevents any unwanted chemical reactions that could affect the fermentation process. For mixing and kneading, a dough scraper is invaluable. It helps you handle the sticky dough with ease, making the process less messy and more efficient. Plus, it's great for cutting and portioning your dough. Finally, a Dutch oven will be your best friend in the baking process, creating a steamy environment for a crispy crust. The heavy lid traps steam, which helps the bread expand fully and develop that beautiful golden crust we all love. Another useful tool is a proofing basket, also known as a banneton. It supports the dough as it rises, helping to maintain its shape and create those lovely spiral patterns on the crust. A lame or bread scoring tool is essential for scoring the dough before baking. This allows the bread to expand properly in the oven and gives it an artisanal look. A bench scraper is another handy tool. It's perfect for dividing dough and cleaning your work surface. Its versatility makes it a must-have in any baker's toolkit. Lastly, a kitchen thermometer can be very helpful. It ensures your dough is at the right temperature for fermentation and baking, which is key to achieving consistent results. With these ingredients and tools, you're well equipped to start your sourdough adventure. Remember, practice makes perfect, so don't be discouraged by initial challenges. Happy baking! Creating your own sourdough starter is like adopting a new culinary pet. It requires care and attention, but the rewards are well worth it. In a clean jar or bowl, combine 50 grams of flour and 50 grams of water. Mix thoroughly until no dry flour remains. Cover loosely with a cloth and leave it at room temperature. Over the next few days, repeat this feeding process daily, discarding half of the starter before adding fresh flour and water. Be patient, as it may take a week or even longer for your starter to show signs of life, bubbling and doubling in size. Once your starter is active and bubbly, it's time to establish a regular feeding schedule. If you bake frequently, you can keep your starter at room temperature, feeding it once or twice a day. However, if you bake less often, storing your starter in the refrigerator and feeding it once a week is more manageable. Remember, consistency is key. Stick to a regular feeding schedule to keep your starter happy and active, ensuring it's ready to leaven your bread when you are. Section 5. From starter to dough, mixing and kneading. This is where the magic begins, transforming simple ingredients into a beautiful rustic loaf of sourdough bread. With a lively starter on hand, you're ready to embark on the bread-making journey. Your starter is the heart of your sourdough, teeming with natural yeast and bacteria that will give your bread its unique flavor and texture. In a large bowl, combine your ripe starter with flour, water, and salt. These simple ingredients will come together to create something truly special. The flour provides the structure, the water hydrates the dough, and the salt adds flavor and controls fermentation. The exact proportions will vary depending on the recipe, but a typical sourdough loaf uses a higher hydration or water content than commercially yeasted breads. This higher hydration helps to create the open crumb structure and chewy texture that sourdough is known for. Mix the ingredients until a shaggy dough forms. This initial mix is just to bring everything together. Don't worry about making it smooth at this stage. That will come later as we knead and develop the dough. Then employ the stretch and fold technique for kneading. This method is gentler than traditional kneading and is perfect for high hydration doughs like sourdough. Gently stretch the dough upwards and fold it over itself, rotating the bowl and repeating for several rounds. This process helps to strengthen the dough and develop the gluten network, which is essential for a good rise and structure in your final loaf. This method develops gluten, giving the bread its structure. As you continue to stretch and fold, you'll notice the dough becoming smoother and more elastic. This is a sign that the gluten is developing properly. Be patient and gentle, and your dough will reward you with a beautiful airy crumb and a delicious chewy texture. After several rounds of stretching and folding, cover the bowl with a damp cloth and let the dough rest. This resting period, known as bulk fermentation, allows the dough to rise and develop flavor. Depending on the temperature and the strength of your starter, this can take anywhere from a few hours to overnight. During this time, the natural yeast and bacteria in your starter will work their magic, fermenting the dough and creating those characteristic sourdough flavors. You'll know the dough is ready when it has doubled in size and is full of air bubbles. Gently press the dough with your finger. It should feel airy and light, with a slight resistance. This is a sign that the dough is well fermented and ready for the next stage of shaping and final proofing. Now you're ready to move on to shaping your dough. Dust your work surface with flour and gently turn the dough out of the bowl. Handle it with care to preserve all the air bubbles that have formed during fermentation. Shape the dough into a round loaf using gentle, confident movements. This final shaping will help to create surface tension on the dough, which is important for a good rise and a beautiful crust. Once shaped, the dough is ready for its final proofing. Place it in a proofing basket or a bowl lined with a floured cloth, cover it, and let it rise until it has expanded and is ready to bake. This final proofing stage is crucial for developing the dough's flavor and texture. Be patient and let the dough rise at its own pace. When it's ready, you'll be rewarded with a loaf of sourdough bread that is truly a work of art. And there you have it, the process of mixing and kneading your sourdough dough. With practice and patience, you'll master these techniques and create delicious homemade sourdough bread that you can be proud of. Section 6. The magic of fermentation. Time and temperature. Once kneaded, the dough needs time to ferment, allowing the yeast and bacteria to work their magic. This process, known as bulk fermentation, develops flavor and texture. Place the dough in a lightly oiled bowl, cover it, and let it rise at room temperature for several hours. The ideal fermentation time can vary depending on the temperature and the activity of your starter. Look for signs of fermentation, such as doubling in size and a web-like structure forming on the surface. Section 7. Shaping and baking, the final flourish. This is the moment where all your hard work and patience come together to create a masterpiece. After bulk fermentation, which allows the dough to develop flavor and structure, gently shape the dough into a boule. A boule is a round loaf, perfect for a rustic presentation. The key here is to handle the dough with care, preserving the air pockets that have formed during fermentation. Alternatively, you can shape the dough into a batard, which is an elongated loaf. This shape is ideal for sandwiches and has a different crumb structure compared to a boule. The shaping process is crucial as it determines the final texture and appearance of your bread. Once shaped, place the dough in a proofing basket or a bowl lined with a floured cloth. This step is essential for supporting the dough as it undergoes its final rise, ensuring it maintains its shape. Cover the dough with a cloth and let it proof for a final rise. This period is typically shorter than the bulk fermentation, but equally important. It allows the dough to relax and expand, setting the stage for a beautiful oven spring. Meanwhile, preheat your Dutch oven in the oven at high heat. The Dutch oven creates a steamy environment, which is crucial for achieving a crispy crust and a well-risen loaf. Once the oven and Dutch oven are screaming hot, carefully transfer the proofed dough into the heated pot. This step requires caution as the pot will be extremely hot, but it's essential for creating the perfect baking environment. Score the top of the loaf with a razor or a sharp knife. This allows for controlled expansion during baking, preventing the loaf from bursting unpredictably and giving it an artisanal look. Bake the loaf covered for a period to trap steam, which helps in developing a beautiful crust. Then, uncover the pot to allow the crust to turn golden brown and crispy. Once baked, let the loaf cool on a wire rack to set the crumb and crust. This final step ensures your bread has the perfect texture and flavor, ready to be enjoyed. Section 8. Troubleshooting your sourdough, common issues and solutions. Sourdough baking, like any craft, has its learning curve. If your first loaves aren't perfect, don't despair. Common issues like a dense crumb, lack of oven spring, or a burnt crust can often be attributed to factors like starter activity, fermentation time, or baking temperature. Adjusting your process based on your observations is key. Remember, each sourdough journey is unique, and with practice, you'll develop an intuition for your starter and dough, yielding consistently delicious loaves. Section 9. A toast to homemade sourdough. The journey from starter to loaf is a rewarding one. Homemade sourdough is more than just bread. It's a testament to patience, observation, and the magic of natural leavening. So gather your ingredients, nourish your starter, and embrace the process. With each loaf, you'll not only fill your kitchen with an irresistible aroma, but also cultivate a deeper appreciation for the craft of baking and the simple joy of a truly homemade sourdough. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with a friend who loves to bake. Until next time, happy baking!